Welcome to Life Cycle Talks, a series of talks presenting the research front to keep you up to date with the science and application of the life cycle perspective. Today's Life Cycle Talk is monetary valuation of environmental impacts, and we will increase our knowledge and understanding about how to value environmental impacts in monetary terms. My name is Anna Wikström, and I'm happy to welcome our guest for today, Bengt Steen, Professor Emeritus at Chalmers University of Technology. Warm welcome, Bengt. And before we start, I just want to inform about some practical information. All Life Cycle Talks will be published and available on the Swedish Life Cycle Center YouTube channel. And the raise hand function will not be used in Life Cycle Talks, but you can ask questions in the Q&A. And we will pick up questions from there for the question part later on after Bengt's presentation. Back to you, Bengt. I'm curious, what prompted you start studying this research field?
Well, actually it was as long as back to 1989, where I was involved in a project for Volvo. They had to make a choice between two design options. It was a front piece in a new car model. Should it be plastic or should it be steel sheet? And they realized that they have 16,000 decisions each year on each model, and they needed to have a formal process of calculating the environmental damage and to choose the right, so to speak, option. Well, we simply had to make a formal calculation process, which they asked us to reduce to 5 minutes for the designers. So, and that resulted in kind of approach on damage costs. So, and it is still an issue, I would say, to do this.
Okay, thank you so much. And now, please, it's time for your life cycle talk.
Thank you. I will tell you a little about some developments that I have come across in recent time about monetary evaluations, and they are they're partly in society, in a broader with a broader approach, and they're also among experts. In society, we have the political sphere, for instance, the EU Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive that requires not requires, but monetary evaluation is important there. And in the economic sphere, we have investment funds who need to understand what is green and not green. We have these green funds that they use. And among experts, we have the different networks in ISO. We have the UNEP-CETAC Life Cycle Initiative. We have people dealing with environmental social governance, which is a sort of reporting-oriented activities. And we have also our own research on EPS, environmental priority strategies. If you start with the EU Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, it's primarily for large companies, but also involving, of course, some suppliers to these large companies. They are starting from this year, 2024. It's applied, so they have to report on sustainability issues. And there is a double materiality principle applied here. That means that it should be essential for the business of company, and it should also be essential for society. So those issues are required to be reported on. And it does not directly, in the directive, it doesn't ask for monetary valuation, but it will be difficult to assess materiality without monetary valuations. And you can see this perhaps that the large auditing companies, they offer services for monetary valuation. They are at their toes to help in these matters. Large companies like the PricewaterhouseCoopers and KPMG and so on, they are really doing much of this. Then we have the investment funds. They are the need, of course, tools for assessing sustainable development. What is green and what is less green. There is a direct type of classifications systems, but they also need to go into this further. And I have had contacts with the European investment funds, the Swiss bank, UBS, and the International Finance Corporation, which is a member of the World Bank Group. They are examples of investments funds looking at monetary valuation. Within ISO, we have the Environmental Management Committee, ISO TC 207. There are two ISO standards relevant for monetary evaluation in LCA. The ISO 14007, which is guidelines for determining costs and benefits, and 14008, monetary evaluation of environmental impacts and related aspects. And there's also technical specification coming now, ISO TS 14074, which is life cycle assessment principle requirements and guidelines for normalization, weighting, and interpretation. And there are also two new technical committees. One is on sustainable finance, and one is on circular economy. They do not guide directly on monetary evaluation, but they use it, and they are sort of the kind of drivers for the development of monetary evaluations. We have the UNEP CETAC Life Cycle Initiative that you may know, and this is have a working group on, have a project. One of the projects is called GLAM, Global Life Cycle Impact Assessment Method. And they have a working group on weighting that I have joined. And the idea in this mainstream LCA type of approach is that you start with a lot of inventory results on resources and emissions, and then you aggregate them to midpoint category indicators, and they have nowadays become quite a lot of them. So there has been another aggregation level developed on human health and biotic natural resources, mostly biodiversity type, and then the abiotic natural resources. And they're also discussing man-made environment. These damage categories are human health is expressed in DALI, disability adjusted life years, and the biotic and abiotic natural environment biodiversity is PDF, potentially disappeared fraction of species. That's at least there's no total agreement on this issue, but this is, I would say, the most people work with this type of approach. And then you have a last step where you aggregate them to dollars or to monetary values, and they do that by stated preference methods that you ask people simply in one a sophisticated way how much they are willing to pay for a dolly and a PDF and etc. And this is, of course, it works. You get a number. People ask us, and you get a number. You can ask quite a lot of people. Several thousand have been asked, and you get this. I'm a bit sort of hesitant to this type of approach, as people don't understand what a PDF is. This is, but it works, and then they have the ESG, environmental, social governance, people that work with different types of monetary evaluation approaches. You have a list here of different participants in a project I was involved in. Harvard, you know, WIFOR is a German institute. GIST is a large consulting organization, and Delft, you know about, I guess, and Value Balancing Alliance is a German. Well, it's international, but very heavy in Germany. And they have two. Transparent is a EU project, and Upright is also a project. They have different approaches to global greenhouse gases impacts, how you value them, and well, I can't go into detail, but it's interesting to see that it's really happening, a lot of things in this area. And there will be a report from the Sprint project from World Value Balancing Alliance coming soon. So what you can, it's quite interesting. A Sprint project is Sprint is a process you use when you develop software. So you collect a lot of people that who contribute in this. So it's sort of will be showing how what's really in people's mind, so to speak. And then we have our own type of research on the EPS, and the state of art in EPS today is documented in two in a report from which you can download from the Swedish Life Cycle Center on an EPS weighting factors for 2020, and the detailed description of the models and data can be found in a book on monetary evaluation, which I wrote a couple of years ago. It's available, or if you are on Chalmers, you can download it electronically from the library. Lately, the problem I've had or worked with in the last years is very much on how you can use these monetary evaluations that we do actually in sustainable development. I mean, the monetary value of impacts on the environment has to be somewhat aligned with the economic issues and social issues and also be used in governance. So this is sort of I think an important issue here. So we need a one single value for sustainable development that would help in decision making. So as you know, mainstream LCA and ESG also are bottom-up processes that have to aggregate a lot of incommensurable units. You start from the bottom and you get something that's not really, that are apples and pears, and you have to aggregate that, and that's a problem. And we have tried a top-down approach based on a single critical prerequisite for survival and welfare, and this is this single indicator would be the yellow part. That is the time when to satisfy basic needs through a decent living standard. It's such a critical common prerequisite for survival and welfare. That is the time you have left when you have done the necessary things on the day. That's the surplus time that you can use for different for education or whatever. There's the time you need is divided into three parts. That's paid time. That's the time you do work. It is unpaid. For instance, paid time is time you have to work to get to buy a food, and then unpaid time is things like time you need to apply to cook the food and to sleep and do all these things. And then you have compensation time, which is externality related. That's that you have to compensate time you have to work or act to have a sustainable living. That's not to decrease the natural capital and things like that. So and if you, I have we have made a test on a case study here on this is a case where you compare to repair an old washing machine with a new, buying a new machine. And then you have to invest some money either to repair the old or to buy a new. And you have some time, paid time in the use. It costs some money to use it. And you have a compensation time for the externalities, and then you have time for use as unpaid time. That's considered here. And I think that the relation between the cost and time is simply salary. So you use salaries to convert costs to time. The interesting thing with this case study is that if you wouldn't consider the used unpaid time, the use time, it would be about equal. There's no real big difference between repairing an old machine and buying a new machine. But when you go to include the time you save by the new machine, who is much better, you don't have to iron your shirt, so the clothing are much better, in much better shape with a new machine. And that's arguing for buying a new machine. So this is in ordinary economy, this your own time is not very often included. So if we sort of reflect on this new indicator, what is the pluses and minuses, and I think it's relevant for products and services satisfying basic needs, and the focus on the Brundtland report, for instance, is on basic needs. So it's that for sustainable development, this is sort of very much in focus, and the measure is in principle absolute. It's not a relative. Our time is limited. We have 24 hours per day, and the utility of the consumer is not tied to the price, which is a disputable value for sustainable utility. I mean, the price of a bomb and things like that is not really a good value for money. And accuracy is, of course, lower because this is a new method and we don't have the data There's no databases on this. Products and services other than those supporting this decent living standard may be difficult to assess. For instance, IT hardware. How do you? It's a long way between an IT hardware and basic needs satisfaction. So this is, but I think this is well, this is something interesting to look into further. And by that, I think I have covered what's happening in different areas. As far as I know, there's probably a lot of other things that I haven't come in contact with. But I think I will stop there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Bengt. And now it's time for questions to Bengt. I will pick up some questions from the Q&A, and I will do my best to ask as many as possible. Let's see here. Great. Who is using EPS, the EPS system today?
Yeah. Well, it's used in many ways, I would say. There is a lot of in literature. There's a lot of references to the EPS system, and it's also I think used as in product development, of course. It's applied in some of the softwares for life cycle assessments, and it's also used not directly as we thought from the beginning. We thought they could make calculations on it, but it's also developed. There has been a kind of development of rules of thumb to find what is the key performance indicators. Environmental impact could be weight, could be use of fossil fuel or things like that. So soon after, when a company has made a couple of LCAs with this, they realize, well, what are the issues we have to deal with. And then it's used in education. We use it in Chalmers to do for design educations, and environmental and social governance. It's used. It's referenced by Harvard, by WIFOR, and some of the actors there. And then I think also in as a kind of measure for in environmental management, some communities use it to for this continuous improvement approach that they have in 14,001 on environmental management. So then the extent I don't know very much about. I can see that it's used and referenced, but it's hidden. I guess many users they use several types of weighting methods and several type of approaches to find their key performance indicators.
Okay. Yes, thank you. So if you have questions, you're welcome to use the Q&A function. Next question is the free time indicator proposed related to the overshoot day?
Oh. Not really. I haven't thought of this. I will think of this. What is the relation between overshoot day and this? I can't see it directly, but it is. But I guess you have to have Yeah, I can't answer that directly.
No, we can continue.
Yeah.
Yes, where can we learn more about the time indicators? Has the method been published?
Yes, there is a report on Swedish Life Cycle Center quite recently, where you can read about it. So it's you will see it later on the list of publications and projects. Yes.
Yes. And next question is, how is human toxicity and ecotoxicity addressed in EPS? Does the model take enough consideration to the impacts of different chemicals?
Yes, the EPS is looking on real impacts and not potential impacts. So there's those. It starts with a single emission or defined emission, and then it models the impact pathways back to the indicators which are valued in EPS. For instance, disability adjusted life years, human health on either mortality or different types of diseases. So it's one, but it's not aggregated. It differs in that way. It's each elementary flow or substance is valued by itself. So it's not aggregated before the valuation.
Okay. Thank you. Next question is, why do we need a single value for decision making? Wouldn't showing a plurality of perspectives be more honest, and or should decision making adapt instead?
Well, decision making is very in practice is either this or that. So in that sense, it's or it may be several alternatives, but it's very distinct decisions, and so you can either, if you show the plurality, which you can you can leave it to the decision maker to, but then it is not transparent how the decision making is actually made, and that's I think that is a problem, particularly when you are many people that are involved, and if there would be a dictator, I mean, he would just tell us how to do it. And I think transparency is very important, these things. And it having a single value is not necessarily hindering the presentation of the background material. So there could be both a polarity and a single value.
Okay, thank you. The last question, Bengt. What is your most important take-home message to the audience here today?
Well, it's I wanted to show that there's a lot of things going on. 20 years ago, it was very questioned whether this would be a thing to do or not. I mean, but nowadays it's accepted, and there's a lot of data coming that you can practice. I call the EPS data 2020D, which is default, and it allows you to elaborate on it and change it and so on. But there is at least one set of values you can use and start with, and I think so. This is happening, and it's good if there's some it's experts are needed in the area, so to speak.
Okay, great, thank you. And thank you for all the questions that have been submitted in the Q&A. Unfortunately, we can only address a portion of them, but it's great to see the significant interest in the topic, so thank you. And thank you, Bengt Steen, Professor Emeritus at Chalmers University of Technology.
Thank you for letting me talk about these things.
Yes. And if you're interested to learn more about monetary evaluation of environmental impacts, you will find more information in these selected publications and in these selected projects. And all these links are available at the calendar post for the event at lifecyclecenter.se. And please feel free to contact Bengt for questions. And here you can see his email address. And the Life Cycle Talks are published by the Innovation Cluster for the Life Cycle Perspective and Swedish Life Cycle Center. And to ensure you don't miss next Life Cycle Talk, follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our newsletter. And thanks for listening.